how is your sales engine? If your sales engine isn't running and you have the ability to hit the gas when you need to, then that's super problematic. So we'll address the sales engine right away. The other one is the numbers. So many business owners.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are traveling across the country for a new entrepreneur to join the show. We're going to touch on many areas as the founder of Up Advisors, including how if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, how businesses don't run themselves, and how every business has people, processes, products, and profit, along with customer experience that needs to work together. Rick, thank you so much for joining that entrepreneur show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about how, after 22 years in leadership roles, you finally wanted to jump over and do your own thing. A little something I like to do here on That Entrepreneur Show is have the show in three phases. Some listeners may skip ahead each week, but I hope they listen all the way through. We go what led you to entrepreneurship in the beginning. We catch up about present day. Then we look into the future, get more advice for our entrepreneurs, start up advisors. Walk us through that transition.
Yeah, my wife really wanted to move to Idaho. That was probably the biggest impetus. I wanted to launch my own business for a while. And I think sometimes a lot of us entrepreneurs need a springboard, particularly if you spent a lot of years in working for other people's businesses. And so the time was right. And I had thought about it for a few years, actually, and moving over to Idaho from California at the time, originally from Seattle.
Okay.
But it just made sense. And I decided to take the leap. So it was quite the experience, quite the shift.
Absolutely. What would you say one of the more challenging parts were, or was, excuse me, of being on your own opposed to having to work for someone else for all those years?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing has been throughout my career, I didn't really have to sell.
Right.
And so when I launched, I told myself, Rick, you're now in sales. And the cool thing here in Meridian, Boise, what we call the Treasure Valley, is the networking scene is really strong, the business networking scene. And so you also got to get comfortable getting out there, walking into a room where you know virtually nobody and interacting when that's just not what you've done. So I think that's that just the combination of business development and then also being able to close sales. I mean, it's
Mm.
one thing to get opportunities, but if you can't close them, it doesn't really matter. And so other than just practicing on how not to win business, I guess. So it's really been that. And I think, you know, just having to step out of my comfort zone and get comfortable and then, learning to sell. I mean, I became a student of sales really, and continue to be a student of sales because I don't think you ever completely arrive.
I can certainly resonate with not thinking you're going into sales once you become an entrepreneur. Everything you do is sales. You have to sell yourself at first and then sell your company. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, if you wouldn't mind, now that you brought it up, give some sales advice for some early entrepreneurs out there who may be in that figuring it out stage, beating their heads and not
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest things I think is being clear on who the customers are that you want to serve. Because once you're clear on who you want to serve, then you can qualify really well. I find, with my clients, as a business consultant and coach, I'm talking to a lot of different business owners at all different stages. And really, that qualifying is something that if you don't do well, it can consume an enormous amount of your time focused on clients that you never have a chance to win. So I always talk about you need to know the rules of the game. So if I am going to propose on a deal, I need to know how do I win this deal? So if I get an opportunity to talk with the person, and that's what I do before I will go down the road of putting a proposal together, I'm going to hit them with the questions that I need answered to figure out, is this one I even want to propose on? Do I have a chance to win? Do I have, five competitors? And one of them's a relative or what is that situation, so if I know the rules of the game, I can decide if I want to play, and then I can figure out how to win. If I don't know the rules of the game, it's really hard to play effectively and win.
As a fellow student of sales, I've also learned to ask those the questions, the discovery questions before I waste time,
Yeah.
of course, building the proposal, sitting on a call where there may not be the budget for it. They may not be even in my target. So many things to look in for. So thank you for bringing that up. It's a mistake that many make, including myself, where we got to focus on how can you add value. If you can learn what their past vendors were doing wrong, you could
Yeah.
find ways to include that into your proposal and make it right. Now that we can get there and get off the ground, why do you help business owners grow strong, healthy businesses once they get off the ground?
Well, for me, that was really the impetus for launching the business is and wanted to go. I had a ton of experience at all different levels, from director of ops and HR to COO, CFO, CEO, and you hear all these stories about small business owners who fail. More stories about small businesses that fail than succeed, And so my whole mission when I launched was to help 1,000 small business owners over 10 years. That was the mission. And what I discovered is those five buckets that I think about: people, process, product, profit, customer experience. Those five all work together to build a healthy business. And so if they can get all those things in line and build a strong, healthy business, their chances of being successful and being one of those businesses that people aren't talking about that failed but are talking about because they succeeded is just going to be so much greater. And so I really have a passion, and you start out with an idea, and you don't know what sort of impact you can make, but at this stage, 3 years into this, you really realize how much need there is, and you really get to understand, quite frankly, why small businesses fail. There's a bunch of reasons. There's some recurring themes for sure. Some cases for me, I was on a call on Friday with a guy, and his business, he may need to shut it down or completely pivot away from what he's doing because I'm not sure he can build a strong, healthy business doing what he's doing. And so being able to understand that and how all those things work together, I just really want to see business owners succeed. So that's why the focus is strong, healthy businesses.
I can certainly see through the screen the passion is there. It seems you
Yeah,
found your why in business. Would you agree
absolutely.
that's what's helped you start to propel forward?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because people tell people, the business, you get out and network like crazy to grow your sales, but over time, what's really going to enable you to scale the business is if your customers value what you're delivering, and then they refer you to other people, and that's what's happened. And so yeah, I have a ton of passion for it, and it's not always easy, but when you get into some of the business, you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on, but being able to go from that to helping them dig out and get to a place where they're growing profitably is super rewarding.
Absolutely. What would you say one of the common themes or areas that you're able to address in clients that come on, maybe to help our listeners out if they're in a similar situation?
Yeah, there's a couple that seem to recur over and over. One is what I call the sales engine. So we were talking about sales a few minutes ago there, but how is your sales engine? If your sales engine isn't running and you have the ability to hit the gas when you need to, then that's super problematic. So we'll address the sales engine right away. The other one is the numbers. So many business owners just don't know their numbers, don't have their chart of account set up properly. They don't know what their gross margins are, so it's hard to set pricing. They're not categorizing all their expenses on a regular basis, so they can't run a P&L to see how the business is actually performing. They don't make the adjustments that they need there to really figure out, well, is that P&L actually accurate given all the expenses? So we'll dig into those areas. I'll dig into the whole thing. In some cases, it's a people issue.
Right.
Um, I'm actually working with a client right now, and he was going to promote a couple people, or he kind of promoted a couple people into leadership, and neither one of them are the right people. And so now we're out doing. I'm facilitating a search. I'm not doing the search myself, but I helped him build out the search, and we're searching for somebody who can be a strong leader in the organization. So just any of those five buckets, there's issues, but I see sales, people, and numbers being the three of the primary issues.
Well, maybe there's a potential fit as one of these listeners today. Everyone, now you better be sure to stick around to the end of the show. We'll find out today's guest's contact info, how to get in touch with them, and everything. We've talked about a lot in your journey right now. I would love to know what's next on your journey. Are we working
Yeah.
on this, or is there something new coming?
Yeah, there's a few things. One, actually got a second meeting today with a consultant who I'm exploring adding to my team. So expanding the team beyond myself and my assistant right now.
Okay.
Also looking to add a kind of mastermind with course material and a community. And I've also launched what I call up business accelerator groups. So basically groups of people, and initially it's local. Eventually we'll have some online groups. So you got 6 to 8 business owners who are working together in a meeting facilitated by myself, or if I add this consultant, another consultant to address issues and really just propel growth in their business, kind of iron sharpening iron with other business owners.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see how it all unravels. But I want to ask a question now about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
If you could have had a conversation with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, to help you at some point along the way, it could be
Yeah.
when you started, it could be now, who would you choose and why?
Oh goodness, that's a good question. Probably Dan Martell. He's wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, the 4 Hour Body. That 4 Hour Body's long book, I think 900 pages. But so you gotta pick your spots. But just I think he's got some great content. He shares some really good information. So I think he'd probably be the one buying back your time and some of those sort of things. I think some of the tools that he has that he's put out would be super helpful.
Let's take it a step further. Where would the meeting go down if you could pick that too?
Oh, I think most likely it'd be Hawaii, probably on Maui. Maui pre fire situation. I know some folks over there feel bad for those people. There's a rebuilding, but definitely that's one of my favorite spots is Maui.
Amazing. Well, before we close you out, if you have any advice for a struggling new business owner, what would it be?
Yeah, I always encourage business owners, if you can afford it, get a coach, get a consultant to help you. If you can't, find some small business owners who are successful who might be willing to come around you and give you advice. But the biggest thing is don't try to go it alone. I see so many business owners get themselves in a tough spot and they're down on themselves, they're down with their business and they need support and help to really dig out. So don't go it alone.
I love that and something, I mean, it's like everything else. You don't know until you know how long little things take in business to
Yeah,
grow. I mean, my speech was in 2015 and I still feel like I'm just getting started sometimes. But this has been a lot of fun. We learned about a few different areas today and he's got a few different businesses. If you could pick one lesson learned. I'm sorry, new questions are coming. Before we signed
no,
off, they're coming out. If
no,
you
you're
could
good.
pick one lesson learned from your businesses that you wish you knew before you started, what would it be? Something that we didn't cover today.
I think the one thing that I would do is have a right hand person. So sooner rather than later, I would have hired an assistant well earlier than I did, just to be able to multiply myself and my efforts. And because I talk so much with clients about time, value of time, I so
Mhm.
every entrepreneur's time is worth at least $150 an hour. And if you take that perspective, you're far more likely to not do administrative stuff when you shouldn't be doing administrative stuff and have somebody do that or other things within your business. So
Being a solopreneur for so long, it was very hard for me to finally let go, even for things
yeah,
as simple as emails and this and that. Now I'm grateful for that relationship going almost on 2 years,
yeah,
where everything that I did my entire day at that point, now I don't do at
yeah,
all. And it's taken a long time to get where if I'm doing work, it's more the income producing activities.
yeah.
Still not only sales, but we're getting closer. You've inspired me, so I know you're inspiring a lot of our friends out here today listening on. Now, where can we find your contact info, everything we need to know?
Yeah, so you can find me at myupadvisors.com. They can email me at renglish@myupadvisors. And if they want to text, they can text me at 208 5656099.
Thank you for sharing that. I look forward to seeing all the great things you do now that we're connected. Everyone out there, be sure to go check out his site, say hello to him online, and make sure you subscribe to our show, That Entrepreneur Show, on all podcast platforms, all social media platforms. Say hello to us there. I am at Vincent A. Lancy on all social with my website, vincentalancy.com. Our show sponsor is Coming Alive Podcast Production. Head to comingalivepodcastproduction.com to learn anything you need about podcasting. But with that, we're signing off again today from across the country. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us, Rick, here on That Entrepreneur Show.